A family of 4 appears in Judge Lauren's courtroom in what seems to be a case of betrayal and infidelity. The husband, Mr. Jaramillo, alleges that their 2 daughters, 8-month-old Alexis and 4-year-old Naviana, are not his. The wife, Mrs. Stremke, is adamant with her claims that he is the father of their daughters.
Ms. Stremke, you've dragged Mr. Jaramillo to court in hopes of saving your family, which you claim is falling apart due to paternity denial. You say the defendant doubts paternity for both of your daughters, 4-year-old Naviana and 8-month-old Alexis, but you want to prove that he is their father. Is that correct?
Yes, Your Honor.
The lovers spat to the utmost dismay of Judge Lauren was happening right in front of the kids, with the 4-year-old Naviana, who was confirmed by both parents as being a smart kid, picking up some cues, which left the poor child wondering who her real father is, further driving a wedge into the cracks.
Part because my daughters are basically growing up how I had to. We didn't have both parents, and even when we did have both parents present at different times, we were denied. I feel like they can't trust their dad because he denies that he's their dad half the time. And my 4-year-old Naviana knows. She can hear the, well, I'm not her dad anyway.
Mrs. Stremke almost broke down in tears as she narrated how they met at the tender age of 13 in a lockup facility. Apparently, they both had rough childhoods growing up, and she's trying her very best to give her daughters something different.
It's on the line now?
Yes.
How did it begin?
We met very young. I was 13. We met in a lockup facility we were both staying at. We had no choice. We didn't have good childhoods at all, so we had to stay there. I see it now, and I don't want it to go down that road to where they have to go through what we did. And it's, sorry, I'm getting emotional.
The plot thickens as the circumstances surrounding her first pregnancy are brought to light. There were several men in the picture, one whom she had a son for before reuniting with Mr. Jaramillo when she returned to Iowa, and another whom she slept with 3 weeks before coupling up with Jaramillo.
13 years old. He said that I was gonna, be his baby's mom a long time ago. And it's hurtful now that, yes, I am your daughter's mom. And it just gets shoved under a rug and forgotten about because he doesn't feel that those are his kids. I had just gotten out of a relationship with my son's father and had moved back to Iowa. Well, I ended up...
One of her closest friends went behind her back and snitched to Mr. Jaramillo that Mrs. Stremke had been sleeping around with numerous men, and the pregnancy was not his. This led to the doubt Mr. Jaramillo had about the daughters.
She called and decided to tell him that I was sleeping with multiple men. And from that point on, he had doubted it, which I really don't understand, because how can you base your daughter's paternity off of some girl you had never even met?
Well, it was one of your friends, you'd spent time with her.
What did she say to you exactly, Mr. Jaramillo?
She said that the baby that Miss Stremke had...
The birth certificate of Naviana, which was presented in the courtroom, shows that Mr. Jaramillo fully accepted that he was father, which he later chalked up as a spur-of-the-moment decision as he was happy then, but eventually the resentment concerning her paternity started seeping in.
The biggest sign was cigarettes. Anybody that had smoked and came back in anywhere around me, I'd instantly throw up. And that's how I know really early on.
But what I want you to understand is that, he gets this call and somebody says, this is not your baby, this is the person she was with before you.
Yes.
It's his baby.
The wife revealed that she was perfectly okay with having one child at the time. The husband was pressuring her for another child, a male child. She ultimately caved into his demands, and they decided to spice up their sex life by having a threesome. To top it off, he even brought his own male friend to participate in the second threesome. Even Judge Lauren was bewildered.
That's the part that is the hardest for me to believe, because I was done having kids. After I had a boy and I had a girl, I didn't want any more. I pushed my luck. I have a boy, a girl, they're both amazing kids. And there was a point in time where the whole paternity of Naviana was not brought up, and he was practically begging me for another child.
No protection was used during the threesome. The entire courtroom heaved out a huge sigh. Judge Lauren shook her head in disbelief. 3 weeks later, she was pregnant with their second daughter, Alexis. He said he takes full responsibility for the mishap. When Alexis was born, he didn't sign the birth certificate. He felt, considering what happened, leading to the pregnancy, that there was no need. He also added that Alexis looks like his buddy.
We ended up having a female-female threesome with him, so he got to pick another woman, and it was what it was. We did it, and then it was maybe a couple weeks later it got brought up. It'd only be fair if we had a male, and you. So I said, okay, all right, that's fine. It's something new.
The wife and the husband have been calm throughout the whole hearing. This was commended by the judge, but neither of them is ready to concede to the other. Only the DNA results can put an end to this. The moment of truth.
Mr. Jaramillo, you are the father.
A middle-aged woman, Venus, 56 years old, comes to Judge Lauren's courtroom to defend her deceased son. He died from a violent gun crime. His name was Dominique. The accuser, in the shape of Amber, 21 years old, says Venus's deceased son is the father of her child, and she's here to prove it.
Ms. Mangrum, you're here today after losing your son to a violent crime. You say the defendant, Ms. Schools, is claiming your deceased son is her child's father, which you say is impossible.
Yeah.
Ms. Schools, you say you have no doubt that Mr. Mangrum fathered your child, and today you will prove it to his family. How did you find out about Ms. Schools' pregnancy, Ms.
Mrs. Venus said she was made aware of the pregnancy on the day her son died. Amber approached her at the hospital and told her that her son is the father. Amber countered her statement. She said she messaged Venus on Facebook first, before approaching her at the hospital.
That I didn't want to hear. No time. No, I just didn't want it.
So, Ms. Schools, is that how it happened?
No, it's not. I actually wrote her on Facebook and told her, I was like, hey, Miss Venus, my name is Amber. I'm actually downstairs. I was like, I don't know if Dominique told you or not, but I'm actually 3 months pregnant with his baby. I was like, I'm downstairs in the hospital.
Amber said she was very emotional upon seeing him hooked up to tubes and machines in the hospital. Venus rubbed her back, that everything will be okay. Venus interrupted her. That was not how it happened. She didn't remember any of that. She was too overwhelmed with her son's condition to care.
Be okay, don't worry.
No,
Yes,
ma'am. No, ma'am. No. That did not.
That didn't happen.
So sorry. No, I don't remember none of that. Now, the Facebook thing, okay, came after Dominique was already gone.
Right, but you got it. And you told me you got it.
And I wrote you back.
Venus said that before her son died, he told her that about 4 girls were claiming they were pregnant for him. She was acquainted with 2 of the girls, but she never heard of Amber.
I did not care.
I
Who would
understand
look
you.
like
Yes, I
touching
do.
her? My son told me several times, okay, that there is about 3 or 4 girls who say they pregnant by him. Now, I knew about 2 of the girls, okay? I knew about 2 of the girls, but I never met Amber.
Amber said during the pregnancy she kept Venus updated with everything, including baby showers. Venus responded positively with prayers and promised to come visit her at the hospital, which she did. Venus said she picked the baby up and immediately knew her son was not the father. She knew from the baby's hair.
Where he sent me little forwarded messages off Facebook with prayers and stuff, telling me she loved me and, you know, she's coming to the hospital to see me and my baby and stuff like that. And she came and saw my baby for about a couple minutes. She came and sat there like the second day I had my daughter. She came to the hospital.
Venus said she was tired of Amber bringing up the issue, that she needed no reminder of her late son's face, that the only reason she was in the courtroom was to put the matter to bed once and for all. She was screaming at this point. A heated argument broke out. Judge Lauren had to use the gavel to bring them to order.
Beautiful hair. Beautiful.
All Mangrum babies had a head full of hair when they were born. Every last one of them. You know, Amber, I apologize, you know, but I honestly did not want the baby to be his baby.
Why is that?
I did not, because I did not. Mine is of my baby.
With glistened eyes, Venus narrated how she dealt with her son's demise by avoiding his Facebook. The judge reminded her that a beautiful baby was in court today. Amber iterated that only Dominique's father was kind to her. This prompted the judge to call Dominique's father to the stand to give his own version of events.
He did so much to me, like words, verbally. It was.
Ms. Schools, I have to say this. I don't think you were trying to do anything malicious. I just think, unfortunately, this mother at that time could not process it all. Now her husband, Dominique's father.
Yeah.
The father said he was aware of Amber's pregnancy because Dominique introduced her to him. Venus interrupted that she was not aware. When did this happen? He said he's not here to argue, that he's sticking with what his son told him. Venus said she doesn't believe it, that a DNA test was initially done, which came back negative.
It is. It's just a fight, you know what I'm saying? Between them, and it's like, I don't want to be in the middle of it. However it goes, I would still like to be around.
DNA was taken from Dominique's body after the day he passed away. The documents were presented to the judge. Amber said since it was blood transfusion, it could be wrong. Venus interjected that Amber was living with another man at the time. Amber said she wanted to undergo a DNA test then to determine who the father was. At this point, only the new results can tell.
When it comes to 18-month-old Dominique Samaya Mangrum is not related to Andre and Venus Mangrum.
Mr. House, a 48-years-old bishop, appears in Judge Lauren's courtroom, being accused by Ms. Webster, a 20-years-old woman, of being the father of her child. It was made known by the judge that Ms. Webster was involved with 3 men at the time. One of them, who was 9 years older than her, was waiting outside the courtroom.
Mr. House, you're a church pastor and bishop who may have fathered a child with a woman who's 28 years younger than you.
Yes, Your Honor.
Now, Ms. Webster, you admit you were involved with 3 different men during the time you conceived your daughter, including Mr. House.
Yes, Your Honor.
Mr. House met Ms. Webster when he took on a new assignment in New York. They hit it off immediately, bonding over tragedies. He never for once assumed they were in a committed relationship.
I had in Jacksonville, moving to Buffalo, New York, take on a new assignment as a pastor. I'm a bishop, but I'm also a traveling pastor. But I'm also a man. I want to stress that right away, that I'm a man and I have manly needs. So it doesn't mean that I won't see a woman, but I'm also a pastor.
Ms. Webster said she met Mr. House through her aunt. It was supposed to be a Bible study, but one thing led to another and it became sexual. Mr. House interrupted her. He said they met at a fast food joint and exchanged numbers. Ms. Webster refuted the statement that it was at church.
We could probably, make a relationship and go a little bit further as time went along.
So, Ms. Webster, please tell us a little bit about the relationship as you saw it.
We met through my aunt. We met at a church. It was supposed to have been like a Bible study thing, but instead of that, it was like more.
Judge Lauren had to step in to refrain the bishop from calling Ms. Webster derogatory names. The bishop said it was just a hookup, a booty call. The courtroom gasped. Ms. Webster agreed that it was just a casual relationship, nothing more. She said she was also sleeping with her boyfriend of 5 years at the same time, Mr. Miles Jones.
Well, in Hosea chapter 4, God called Gomer a whore.
Well, we're not in Hosea chapter 4. We in paternity court, and I'm the judge, and in this courtroom, we're going to respect women. Now, you can tell the story without calling her name.
Mr. Miles was called to the stands. He said his relationship with Ms. Webster started off casual, before becoming a committed one. He said he was not aware that she was sleeping with other men at the time. The judge said it seems only Ms. Webster was aware of both men. She nodded in agreement.
Andre Miles Jones.
Mr. Miles Jones. All right, we are here with Ms. Webster. And of course, we are discussing the paternity as it relates to little Emilion.
Yes.
So was this a
good.
relationship or was this just casual sex? What were you guys doing?
It was, at first it started off as casual sex for about 2 to 3 weeks, and then I started catching feelings.
When Ms. Webster found out she was pregnant, she tried contacting the bishop. His phone was off. When she gave birth, she couldn't reach him for any support. Mr. Miles said he had to provide the child with diapers and stuff.
I did. She'll tell you that her
did.
phone was off. Your phone went on. My bankroll's on swole, and I kept hers on swole as well, too.
Never. My phone bill was off of 2
I'm
months.
sure glad
phone
your
was
bankroll
not-
is on
her
swole
phone-
for baby Emilion, just
Right.
in case you end up being the father.
The bishop said he never knew about pregnancy. He only found out about 30 days ago through her aunt, and he came right away.
I just found out less than 30 days ago at the most that she had a baby. Her auntie called my superiors in my organization, and I got a phone call saying there's some woman saying that you left her with child in New York. I made the phone call, and I was told 30 days ago, just 30 days ago.
Mr. Miles said he found out about the pregnancy after 5 to 6 months, and she told him he was the father. Ms. Webster said she told Miles there was a possibility he was the father. The bishop jumped in and said that this was why he had doubts about the paternity of the child. The courtroom clapped.
Really? I said, how long? She was like, I'm about 5 to 6 months. I said, so you trying to tell me that it's mine? She said,
5 to 6 months before you told him?
Well, I
So
was
you
4
can
to 5
imagine, I didn't know it all.
So when you told him, I'm pregnant, did you then tell him, and you're the father?
No, I told him it's a possibility that he can be my baby's father.
Ms. Webster presented a birth certificate. Nobody was listed as the father, but she gave the baby Miles's last name. The bishop said if she was happy with Miles, why did she contact him? She said she had to make sure who the father is, and she's ready to find out. And she was not alone in that regard. Only the DNA results from the court can clear this. Show results.
Mr. Miles Jones, you are not her father. Mr. House, it has been determined by this court that you are not her father.
Mr. Alexander is trying to legally remove his name from the birth certificate of the child of his ex-girlfriend, Ms. Stewart, because he believes he's not the father of the child. Ms. Stewart believes otherwise, that the negligence of Mr. Alexander has left her and her kids homeless.
Mr. Alexander, you are suing your ex-girlfriend for $40 for the cost of the administration fee to legally remove your name from her 4-month-old daughter, Jariah's birth certificate, because there is absolutely no way you are her biological father.
Yes, Your Honor. Honor.
Mr. Alexander stated his reasons for trying to determine paternity, that Ms. Stewart was having an affair with another man. His name was Dexter, that she was also keeping late nights, and this was during the window of her conception.
Text messages and several phone calls from this guy named Dexter. She wouldn't answer the phone when I was in the room. I guess she would wait until maybe I left or whatever, so that's kind of a suspicion for me.
So you saw text messages coming in on her phone?
Right.
But you never questioned her about it?
Yeah, I asked her about it, and she told me, like, don't worry about it, like, basically, like, it's none of my business.
Ms. Bew Stewart disagreed, that she didn't even tell him about the pregnancy till about 2.5 months later. They were going through a rough patch. Mr. Alexander said they were on a 3-month break when he learned about the pregnancy.
That's why I'm in doubt, too.
Because this was during the window of conception.
Right.
So you feel like she was cheating on you during the time Jariah was conceived.
Correct.
Is that true, Ms. Stewart?
No, Your Honor, it is not. And I'm not even sure why he denies. I mean, I didn't tell him.
Ms. Stewart said they were still having sex together during the break, and she wasn't cheating on him. She was suspicious of Mr. Alexander that he was the one cheating on her. She even put a tracking device on his phone and discovered that he was in fact cheating.
I don't understand how he doesn't say that. Every time we're on a break, it's not necessarily a break because we still have sex, so it's not really a break.
So, were you cheating?
No, Your Honor, I was not. Let me tell you what happened. So, I started feeling that he was cheating on me.
She submitted the evidence to Judge Lauren. It was displayed on the monitor and read aloud to the entire courtroom. Mr. Alexander denied it, that the messages weren't his.
That is when he was gone. He told me that he was at his aunt's house, and obviously you can see there he's talking to a girl right there.
So at 7:08 p.m., his phone got a text from a number that's not yours that says, "I'm looking forward to tonight."
Yeah.
Ms. Stewart came clean that she was only pretending to be talking to a man named Dexter to get back at Mr. Alexander. Dexter was her female friend. She only changed the name. She never cheated on him.
Somebody else's fine booty.
That's correct, Your Honor.
So, Ms. Stewart, I'm trying to understand what this all has to do with Dexter. Because if we're being completely honest, even if this is his phone log and he was going after someone else or dating someone else or cheating, that would not have anything to do with the paternity of Jariah.
Mr. Alexander brought out his sister as a witness. She was also friends with Ms. Stewart for about 15 years now. She said Dexter was a real man, that Ms. Stewart was really seeing him, and they've gone out to meet other guys together before. Ms. Stewart denied all the allegations.
Stewart and I have been friends for over 15 years, and we've always talked and told each other secrets about, having backup plans as far as if you have a boyfriend, keeping one on the side for when your boyfriend makes you mad, you can, just go talk to other guys or whatever. So as far as this guy goes, it's not a hoax. They actually hang out all the time.
Mr. Alexander said during a previous argument, Ms. Stewart had told him that the baby was not his. The judge confirmed the statement, and Ms. Stewart agreed. She said it only happened once. She said she only wished it wasn't his baby so that they would go their separate ways.
Recently, yes, we have. They just had a little break also, and she thought he was cheating, so we went out to go hang out with guys.
She's also told me several times that when we be in the heat of an argument, that the baby's not mine. So
I said that one time.
Therefore, I have doubt.
Ms. Stewart has been shouldering the burden of raising the child on her own. Mr. Alexander said he cannot take care of a baby that he's not sure of. He's a good father to their first child, but not the second one. Only the DNA results can save the child from neglect at this point.
Mr. Alexander, you are her father.
Brandon, after a 12 years relationship with Ms. Fuller, got a shocker when she confessed that their 3-year-old son may not be his biological child. He broke off his engagement to her, and he's struggling with the possibility of losing his son. Ms. Fuller said she was having an affair with another man at the time. She hid this from Brandon.
3-year-old son Brandon Jr. may not be your biological child. Now you say your engagement to Ms. Fuller is broken off and your heart is in ruins because of the possibility you may now lose your son too.
Yes, Your Honor.
Brandon said they got separated when the baby was 6 months old because they had to move. He took the baby to a birthday party. When he returned the child, Ms. Fuller wasn't home and she wasn't answering her calls. This went on for days.
Had to separate because we had to move.
So you all were in a relationship.
We were in a relationship.
Baby was what? Born.
Yep. And we were living together.
6 months in.
6 months in, we had to move. We fell on some hard times.
Okay.
Respectively, I moved back to my mom's.
A week later, Brandon started receiving calls from a private number. It was Ms. Fuller. She had gone to spend the week with the man she actually thought was the biological father of the baby. She requested for a face-to-face meeting with Brandon.
He asked you on the phone, or he said, meet me and I want to talk about this?
He asked me on the phone. He was mad at me and he was upset. He was wondering where we had been that whole week. And
Where were you that whole week?
I had left to go be with the guy that I thought.
Ms. Fuller presented a picture of the other man, that the baby started looking like him. That's why she disappeared. She was feeling guilty. She didn't want to lie to Brandon.
Why would you just disappear? Where did you go?
He started looking like the other guy to me when he was 6 months. I have a picture. To
So
me, he just didn't look.
Okay, now
He
the
didn't look
pieces
like
are
neither
coming
one.
together.
He didn't look
Pieces are
like
coming
he
together.
didn't look like neither one of us to me at the time.
Brandon presented pictures to the judge, showing how close he was to the child. He was there for the kid as a father would. He cared for the child and fed him. The kid even has his last name. He never had any doubt that he was the father.
This baby is named after you.
Oh yeah.
It's your son.
Sleeping on my chest at night, just everything. I mean, I barely move. I mean, you know, like I would sleep like this, real quiet, real.
He discovered her infidelity when she forgot to log out from her Facebook account after using his phone. He saw the messages in the inbox, and one of them stood out. She told the other man that the child doesn't look like Brandon and she needs his help.
I was on my way to some bad things. When he was born, it's just like, I gotta stop.
Brandon Jr. is 3 now.
3.
So you spent the next 2.5 years continuing
Yeah.
to bond.
Yeah. And then we had a falling out, like serious falling out. She got on social media on my phone, okay, but didn't close it.
This led to a long and heated argument between the couples. The neighbors had to call the cops for domestic disturbance.
It did.
So what happened?
I got upset, okay? Well, actually, I sat down on the couch at first. I was like, So I handed her the phone. I was like, read this. So she reading it, you know. She kind of got a little look on her face or whatever. And I got up after that, and I went to the washer, and I started taking...
Ms. Fuller said she had been in an on and off relationship with the other man for about 8 years, till when she had her baby. This left the entire courtroom in disbelief. She presented a calendar chart to the judge showing the timeline of her relationships with both men. She said she wasn't supposed to have a child, that her child was a miracle baby.
It was off and on for about 8 years or whatever. Around the time
It went on for how long?
it was like 8 years off and on, but it wasn't like
8 years off and on?
Yes.
Oh, until what time?
Brandon never knew another man was ever in the picture. He had no clue. Ms. Fuller, with tears in her eyes, apologized to Brandon, that Brandon was the perfect man to raise her child and not the other man. Brandon said she was the one that broke off the engagement and there might be no coming back. Only the DNA results can settle this squabble at this moment.
Mr. Brandon Robinson Sr., you are his father.
Mr. and Mrs. White, a newlywed couple, make an appearance in Judge Lauren's courtroom today. Mrs. White is trying to save her marriage by proving that Mr. White is indeed the father of their 3-year-old daughter. She agreed to have cheated in the past, but the results today will help her gain her husband's trust back. Mr. White disagrees. He said he's ready for a divorce.
Ms. White, you've opened your case because your last and only way to save your marriage and family is to prove to your husband that he fathered your 3-year-old daughter, Savannah.
Yes, Your Honor.
You admit you've cheated in the past, but hope once the results are revealed, your husband will trust you again. Is that correct?
Yes, Your Honor.
Mr. White said his wife was having her ex-boyfriend over while he was at work. His neighbors told him. This prompted him to snoop around her social media, and it led to a quarrel between them. The ex-boyfriend showed up. This confirmed his suspicion that something was going on between them.
Just the other day, she was at my mother's, and she woke up and she asked, "Where's Daddy?"
And I can see this is just tearing you apart.
It is.
It's just eating away at you. I can see that. Explain to the court how it has been for 3 years to have doubt.
It's been rough and emotional because when it first all come about to where I had the suspicions, it was she was having an ex-boyfriend come over while I was at work.
Mr. White said a week after their wedding, his wife was constantly cheating on him. Everyone in the courtroom, including the judge, was stunned. She asked Mrs. White if the allegations were true. She said they were, that she was suffering from abandonment, issues being an adopted child and all.
You just don't have any trust in this relationship.
No, because from a week after we got married until February of this year, I've been catching her cheating constantly.
A week after you got married?
Yes, Your Honor.
Ms. White, have you been cheating?
Yes, but I have like abandonment issues because I was adopted. So like if he's not showing me the love and affection that I need.
She said their anniversary is in 2 days, that she wanted to make this right, that she's certain he's the father of the child. She moved in with her husband when she was 19 years old and got pregnant after 8 months. They married after the birth of their first child, and she started cheating immediately.
You admittedly have been cheating. You've had to open this case to prove paternity of Savannah in hopes of saving your marriage.
Yes, our anniversary is in 2 days, and So I want to make this right so we can better our marriage and prove that Savannah is his.
Mr. White found out when the baby was 6 months old during an argument. His wife told him that there's a high chance he's not the father.
Mr. White, when did you find this out?
I didn't find out for sure until she admittedly told me when Savannah was 6 months old that there was a 50-50 chance that Savannah wasn't mine.
And how did you get to a place where you decided you're gonna tell him, Miss White?
We got into an argument and we ended up splitting up, and I was over at my mom's house.
Mr. White presented text message evidence between his wife and another man on Valentine's Day. She planned to go spend it with him because Mr. White didn't get her anything.
My father and mother's issues and seeing it, and I'd rather not have my kids in that environment where they're seeing mom and dad argue over something. They don't need to see it. They either need to have family together where there's no issues, there's faithful and everybody's sticking to it, or we do it as separate parents, but we still sit there and have a civil.
Mr. White presented pictures of his wife sexting other men to the judge. He said he took his wife's phone into his possession after seeing all the text messages. Mrs. White said she didn't do anything sexual with the man on Valentine's Day. She just went over to talk.
And I assume, Mr. White, since you handed this up to the court, this is not your body part.
No.
This is what you found in her phone.
Yes, this is the gentleman that she went to his house on Valentine's Day.
Tell me what happened behind that story, Ms. White.
We didn't even do anything on Valentine's Day. We just sat there and talked. That's all we did on Valentine's Day.
Mrs. White says she wants to turn over a new leaf. No more cheating. That's why she's here in court to determine the paternity of the kids and move on with their lives.
You're saying you're not getting what you need in the marriage. So why not just leave the marriage? Why keep doing this if you are gonna engage in this type of activity?
Well, I called the court just so I can get the results of the kids. And
Mr. White, with tears in his eyes, narrated how he loved his kids and she couldn't live without them, that his wife was emotionally manipulative towards him. Her current pregnancy is still under scrutiny because of her cheating habits. Only the results can lay this to rest.
Mr. White, you are her father. How do you feel?
I feel happy.
How do you feel, Ms. White?
relieved because he's a great dad and I want him to be all of my children's father.
Mr. Jackson says that 41 years ago, he was falsely accused of fathering a child, and that accusation has ruined his life in all ramifications. He hopes to prove today that he is not the father of the defendant, Ms. Jackson. Ms. Jackson, on the other hand, claims that he is the only man she has ever called dad, and she has no idea why he is trying to deny her. The case starts this way.
Mr. Jackson, you say that 41 years ago, you were falsely accused of fathering a little girl, and that accusation has ruined your life, cost you tens of thousands of dollars, steady employment, and your health. Today, you are here to prove the defendant is not your daughter. Is that correct?
Yes, Your Honor.
That's sad. Judging from what he just said, it seems like Mr. Jackson has been through a great deal of stress, having to take care of Ms. Jackson and be her father. But if he claims to not be the father, why then was he named as her father?
I've been paying support since I was maybe 30, Your Honor. I started working for a private contractor. For 18 years, Your Honor, I did not know that I owed child support. And I get a job with a paycheck. It's when I find out I owe child support.
Damn. Now it makes sense when he says that child support ruined his life. $25,000 in debt is crazy. The fact that he is even 63 years of age makes it 10 times worse. The question still remains, how did he end up paying for a child he claims not to be his? This definitely didn't happen out of the blue.
It mentioned, things like, he didn't think that, he was the only man that my mom slept with. And
how old were you when he was saying this?
I was like 9 or 10 or 11 years old.
At 9 or 10, you were having to process that information?
Yes.
Oh, so that's what she means when she calls him her homie. Interesting. Ms. Jackson says that she had a relationship with Mr. Jackson, but it was not the father-daughter type of relationship you would expect. A homie can't be your dad, that's for sure.
The time I was married, and I knew it was wrong, but I did it.
So what happened when she told you she was pregnant?
I told her it was not my child, Your Honor.
Did you say that because you didn't believe that was your child? Or did you say that because you knew you were married and you knew you were wrong?
At that time, I believed a little both, Your Honor.
Okay, that's honest. I want to know.
Yes.
His wife must really love him. Going back to him after he cheated on her with Ms. Jackson's mother? Wow. At least he admitted to the fact that he denied the child because he didn't want it to ruin his marriage. But denying a child doesn't mean the child isn't yours.
How did you know as a child that he knew, Mr. Jackson, where you and your mother were?
Well, he's on my birth certificate first and foremost.
He is?
Yes, he's on my birth certificate.
Okay. Do you have that birth certificate here?
Yes, I do.
I'd like to see it. Jerome, can you hand me that? So, did you know you were on the birth certificate?
No,
did you
I
sign
didn't. I never signed nothing, Your Honor.
Now I see what's going on. Mr. Jackson's name is on her birth certificate, but he says that he never signed the birth certificate because he was never at her birth. She also claims that the name written on the certificate is what Ms. Jackson's mother used to call him, meaning she's the one that put the name on the birth certificate. Wow.
So that I could buy ice cream. And he told me he didn't have it. And I said, well, do you have 10 cents, 15 cents,
Juanisha.
a nickel? And he said that he didn't have either or. But I would see him go to the liquor store and buy alcohol or whatever he would, buy for himself, but he couldn't even give me 25 cents.
Ouch. That is coming from a place of heart. You can tell from the way she's talking and looking at Mr. Jackson dead in the eyes. He really hurt her as a kid, and it seems like she has not forgiven him for all the trauma he put her through.
Have family members that stutter as well.
And then she talked about, in her testimony just recently, having to deal with a slight level of stuttering. Is the severity or lack thereof any indicator?
No, you can have someone in a family who is severely, profoundly a stutterer, and then you can also have someone that is a mild stutterer as well.
Even with the expert analysis, Mr. Jackson sticks to his story and says that Ms. Jackson is not his daughter. Phew, it's honestly starting to get tiring at this point. If only her mom was here to give her side of the story. Maybe trying to get the truth won't be so difficult.
This is your stepfather?
Yes.
And what testimony would you like to offer to this court today?
Well, as far as my dad, he's cool, and I know that growing up, it was hard for him to do what he wanted to do for us because he had no money. We still ate, we still had clothes and everything,
And there goes the confession from Mr. Jackson's stepson. He claims that his dad would never have denied Ms. Jackson if he knew that she was his daughter. Even with the debt he owed, Mr. Jackson always made sure his kids were well taken care of. At this point, I think we should see the results.
Mr. Jackson Jr., you are her father.
Mrs. Strickland needs to prove to her husband that he is the father of their 4-year-old daughter, Nancy, because their marriage is on the verge of a collapse. Mr. Strickland needs the DNA results today because he is up and ready to leave if he finds out he is not the father of the child. Well, let's get to the bottom of it all, shall we?
Ms. Strickland, you have brought your husband to court to prove he is the biological father of your 4-year-old daughter, Nancy. You say your marriage is strained and claim positive paternity results will save your relationship. Is that correct?
Yes, Your Honor.
Looks like there's trouble in paradise for these two. Mrs. Strickland begins by telling the judge that she loves her husband so much and would never betray his trust for anything in the world. If that's true, what's making him doubt that he is the father?
Take me back to how you met.
We'd met online on a dating site, and we talked on there for probably 6 or 7 months. And then I got her phone number and called her, and we talked for a while, and we were really good friends. We stayed best friends. We tried dating at that point in time. Unfortunately, I was in a bad relationship.
That's really beautiful to listen to. It's as if Mrs. Strickland was the woman who had come to fill the empty spaces in his life. It's crazy that all that sweetness and love has turned into him thinking that his wife has been unfaithful to him.
Obtain a home for us in a new city, and I was looking for a job. And in the 11 months, I went back and forth from where we were living in Dyersburg to Memphis, back and forth. And in that time, it created jealousy issues. He thought that maybe I was seeing other people while I was going down to Memphis to see my children.
Let's be honest, that would make anybody start to have suspicions. Mr. Strickland says that when she initially started moving between cities, he did not have an issue with it. The issue started when she no longer wanted him around and started to change her attitude towards him.
Gone over there, and she'd been to Memphis for probably about a week. And it was kind of rough because, of course I missed her, I loved her. And when she got back, it was the same thing as before. It was, she didn't want me around her, she didn't want me near her.
Well, if there's anything we know, it's the fact that they both see things from two separate perspectives. Mrs. Strickland says that Mr. Strickland was the one who lost his affection for her belly while she was pregnant. Mr. Strickland claims that she was the one who was being distant.
When they first brought the birth certificate in, I had signed the paperwork. They refused it because me and her were not legally married. She was still legally married to her ex-husband.
Oh!
So they brought in the second birth certificate. She requested to have her maiden name put on it.
Okay.
They said there wasn't a problem with that. She signs the paperwork, they send it off, we wait in the mail for it to come in.
And finally, the big bombs start to drop. Mr. Strickland shows his evidence where his wife refused the information under the father section of the baby's birth certificate. I wonder what excuse she's gonna have for doing that.
Contact the court. Well, I decided to contact the court myself. And I found out I literally could walk in there and within 6 months have it done. All I had to do, I could file a petition for the court for a paternity test. Once it was situated and it was proven whether I was the father or not, I go to the county clerk and then pay my money.
Man, do I love a man who knows how to go about his business? Haha. Mrs. Strickland looks like you have a lot of explaining to do. Mr. Strickland says that changing the name of the birth certificate won't take up to 6 months. Their daughter is 4 years old now, and she still hasn't done it. That's all shades of fishy.
Mr. Strickland, is this the only doubt you have? Do you have any other doubt?
She had actually started talking to a guy on the same site we were on that me and her met. And I'd seen the texts. I stopped that immediately.
So you saw text messages in her phone?
Yes, in her
What
phone.
did the messages say?
Things talking about how beautiful she was, how much he'd like to get to know her, how much he'd like to get to meet her.
Well, that explains why her husband is finding it difficult to believe that she's telling him the truth. In her previous relationship, she was unfaithful to her ex-husband. And let's not forget the fact that Mr. Strickland caught her texting another man. His doubts are very much validated.
I actually have those pictures.
I'd like to see them. Jerome, will you hand me that evidence, please?
Yep.
Please describe to the court what these pictures
Those are
indicate.
pictures that I actually myself have taken.
So you took the pictures,
Yes.
but she sent them to another man.
Yes, Your Honor.
I'm not going to lie. If I were to be in that same situation, I would lose my mind. It would feel like I was sharing her with another man. That definitely had to hurt when he found out. All right, I think we've seen enough. Let's get down to the bottom of this whole drama. Here are the results.
Mr. Strickland, you are the father.
All her life, Ms. Lewis has known herself to be Daddy's little angel. She is devastated now that her daddy, Mr. Palmer, is saying that he is not her father. Mr. Palmer, on the other hand, says that he has always known he was not her father. Trust me, it's a crazy case, but here's how it all starts.
Ms. Lewis, you are devastated that after being Daddy's little girl, you are now forced to drag your father to court to prove that you are his biological daughter. Is that correct?
Yes, Your Honor.
There's no way that would not have hurt her as a child. Ms. Lewis says that her dad, or supposed to be dad, broke the news to her when she was 13, that he was not her father in front of all her other siblings. Who does that?
Mr. Palmer, do you remember this day that she says you gathered everybody up?
Yes, Your Honor.
Why would you gather everybody up and tell her she's not your biological daughter?
Because I knew all the time she wasn't my daughter, and I just thought it was just time to tell her.
It always starts with the rumors, doesn't it? Mr. Palmer says that he loved her mother and they were inseparable at the time. They were even supposed to get married, but his friends called him a fool because they told him that she had been moving around with another guy.
Pink and white. I never will forget that. I was in love with her.
What happened with Ford, the car? What you said you were...
That was her boyfriend's car.
That was the boyfriend's car.
It was in there driving.
Was she in the car when you saw her?
Yes, ma'am.
What did you see?
She laid down, her leg was sticking out the side of the car.
Well, I guess we now know why his friends were calling him a fool for claiming to want to marry her mother. Mr. Palmer claims that Ms. Lewis's mother had a boyfriend, and he could remember how they used to play love in the boyfriend's car. But Ms. Lewis claims that her mother denied all of that and told her it was not true. Phew.
Reached out. Me and my sister reached out to him.
Well, that's what I'm curious about as well. So at this point where you have this bomb dropped on you at 13 years old, and you're told that he's not your biological father, where does it go from there?
When he told me I didn't come back for about 4 years, 3 or 4 years. I think when I came back, I was, 17?
I mean, in that picture, they sure do look alike. What still makes the whole case a mystery is why Mr. Palmer decided to take care of her and be there as a father when he believed all this, while that he was not her biological father. Who knows, maybe he's just a good man. We'll see.
That's right, Your Honor.
Did you bring any proof of that?
Over here, Your Honor, right here.
I'd like to see it.
From the time I left for war in May 1968.
Let me follow along with you. So this is your timeline. You say you left to go to war.
In May of 68.
May of 68. Let me first say thank you for your service.
Going by the explanation and the evidence he just displayed in the courtroom, he does have a point. The dates of when he was at war and when Ms. Lewis was born just do not add up. I think we can understand why he claims to not be her father.
Is September 6, 1969 your birthday?
Yes, Your Honor.
It is, in fact, your birthday.
Yes, Your Honor.
And so when Mr. Palmer outlines this chain of events, his conclusion is that you would have had to been conceived sometime in November of 1968.
Oh, it definitely does, Judge Lauren. It definitely does. Apparently, Mr. Palmer had moved on. and got into another relationship with another woman, and that's why he continued to deny that he was and is not Ms. Lewis's father.
You are her brother.
Yes, ma'am. Yes, Your Honor.
Okay. Do you believe Mr. Palmer is Ms. Lewis's biological father?
Yes, ma'am, I do. I was there. I was there when he told her that he was not her father, but I believe that.
Oh, you were there on that day at the farm?
Yes, ma'am, I was. Yes, Your Honor.
The look on his face says it all. One of Mr. Palmer's kids steps in and says that he has another sibling who was born around the same time with Ms. Lewis, and Mr. Palmer was around to take care of the child and be a father to him. Why then is he denying Ms. Lewis?
Child of yours, born to you and your wife, born September 14th, 1969, just 8 days after when Ms. Lewis was born.
That's right, Your Honor.
So if you were there to conceive this child, why wouldn't you be there to conceive that child?
I probably got home on a leave or something like that. I left on leave. I don't know exactly.
Come on now, Mr. Palmer. That has to be the dumbest excuse I have ever heard. I mean, both children were born with a difference of just 8 days. I have a feeling he just doesn't want to tell the truth. He was definitely around during that period.
He missed out on a whole lot. He missed out on my graduations. I wanted my daddy to walk me down the aisle when I got married. He wasn't there for that. I have 5 girls and 1 son. And that 1 son I would have loved for my dad to be there, and he wasn't there. But I know this turnout is gonna be.
Believe me, I'm also praying that the results reveal Mr. Palmer to be her father. If it doesn't turn out that way, Ms. Lewis is going to be heartbroken. Oh well, here are the results. Let's see what they have in store for us.
Mr. Palmer, you are her father.
Ms. Curtis has been left homeless and is in need of help because the defendant, Mr. Buckley, has refused to accept being the father to her child. Mr. Buckley says that all she has done is cheat and lie, and that the results would prove that he is not the father of the child in question. Here's how it begins.
Ms. Curtis, you say this court date is extremely important to you. You're here to prove to your ex-fiance, Mr. Buckley, that he fathered your 22-month-old son, Xavier, because his denial has left you homeless and in need of help.
Yes, Your Honor.
Damn. Going from having a home to sleeping in a homeless shelter with a child is devastating. Ms. Curtis is definitely hurt by the situation. Even talking about it makes her tear up. I really wonder how they got to this level.
His landlord sent me an eviction notice. I had just had surgery.
Is that true, Mr. Buckley?
Yes, that is true, Your Honor, but I allowed her to live in my apartment at that time. I was being nice to her. She got mad at me because I was with someone else.
This is gonna be one hell of a case. Mr. Buckley says that he did not want a relationship with Ms. Curtis, and when he told her this, she said that she would make his life a living hell. That's the only reason he kicked her out of the house.
So you don't believe you can have children?
No, Your Honor.
Why?
Your Honor, I was in a relationship before, and we tried to conceive a child. We went to fertility specialists, and we were on medicine and kept up with ovulation dates and the whole 9.
Even my eyebrows are raised after hearing that. Mr. Buckley confesses and says that he has never been able to get any woman pregnant in not 1 but 2 different relationships. So for Ms. Curtis to come out of the blue and say she's pregnant, it definitely sounds suspicious.
Whose is it?
No, you didn't.
That's pretty much what I said.
No, you said you told every other girl you were in a relationship with, congratulations, who's the father? But I was different, that you were willing to step up and be his father, which you haven't done.
I haven't done that because of you.
Because of me?
Yes.
It's just a drive away.
Not Judge Lauren looking at these 2 grown adults like they're having a chaotic family session. Well, Mr. Buckley says that Ms. Curtis had her own apartment, and he has no idea why she never wanted to leave his own apartment.
Spending Christmas with you? Who was I having sex with? Your brothers? Your uncle?
No.
What happened during the conception period? It was during the holidays?
Yes, it was Christmas.
She told me.
I was supposed to go home for Christmas, and I couldn't afford to go home. So he volunteered for me to spend Christmas with him and his family.
Well, he started it. He definitely deserved that after saying she had plenty of hours to sleep around. Oh well, they continue with their back and forth yelling, and they just keep dropping truth bombs. Judge Lauren better step in before they rip each other apart.
So take me to the day you gave birth, Miss Curtis.
I was in labor for 13 and a half hours. Mr. Buckley was with me for the whole 13 and a half hours. I have pictures of him at the hospital.
I'd like to see those.
I ended up having to have an emergency C-section because little Xavier's oxygen level dropped and he was in distress.
Would you blame her for falling in love? I mean, she literally just said that Mr. Buckley went into tears when he heard that the baby might not make it during surgery. Why then is he acting like he never cared about the baby?
Something that we made together, something that I never thought was possible.
Something that I don't think is possible, Your Honor.
But in this photo, it doesn't look like, I see tears in your eyes, Mr. Buck. What do you feel when you look at that picture?
It's impossible to describe. There's no way to put it into words.
Let's just say the battle is between Mr. Buckler's mind and heart. Deep down in his heart, he wants the child to be his because he wants to be a father, but his brain constantly tells him that it's not possible because he has tried and failed more than once in his previous relationships.
Bunch. Miss Bunch, you are Mr. Buckley's friend. All right. And what information do you have concerning Xavier's paternity?
Your Honor, I have a lot of information. I actually brought a sketch with me.
I would like to see it. The exhibit here?
This right here, Your Honor, this is my house, my back door. And this is Mrs. Curtis' front door. And as you can see...
Okay, I guess we know why his doubts are strong. Mr. Buckler's friend walks up and explains that she knew that Miss Curtis had a boyfriend, and aside from that, she was also sleeping with several other men. It's crazy that she found out all of this from her back door.
Certificate, father's name, Xavier Buckley.
Yes, Your Honor.
That's you.
Correct.
You signed it voluntarily.
Yes, yes, Your Honor.
And is there a child support order?
Yes, Your Honor.
There is.
Yes.
How much per week are you obligated to pay?
I'm not exactly sure.
He was supposed to pay $216 a month.
And there they go again with their yapping. Ms. Curtis says that he is in child support debt because he quit his job, all because he does not want to do anything for her child. Honestly, I think we've seen enough of their drama. Here are the results.
Mr. Buckley, you are not his father.
She had sex with 2 men on the same day she conceived her baby. In total, there are 10 men she slept with within her window of conception. Mr. Crisp and Ms. Hewlett are about to have a long day with Judge Lake at paternity court today. Here's how the case begins.
With my first son, he wasn't there. I did it myself. I was working, he was partying, I was left alone at home. He was never there.
And this forced you to cheat?
Yes, Your Honor. Because he wasn't there. I mean, I had no one. I did it all myself. I was, it was just me.
Ah yes, Mr. Crisp was never really present. This provided the go-ahead in Ms. Crisp's head to cheat. She simply cannot call her husband out and give an ultimatum. Oh no, she just had to cheat. And oh boy, did she cheat.
My dad just passed away. I felt I was sad that he passed away, so I just got out and partied. I guess I really didn't care. I felt bad about it.
So you had been through a tragic loss.
Yes, Your Honor.
You felt comfort in partying and you just started doing the wrong things.
Yes, Your Honor.
Oh, Mr. Crisp. This entire thing seems like a whole lot of miscommunication and bad decisions. If he was feeling overwhelmed after his father died, why then did Ms. Hewlett find it extremely difficult to see through that and simply talk to him about it?
This cheating has led you to the doubt regarding the paternity of your son, Bentley.
Yes, Your Honor. He doesn't look nothing like me. He got blonde hair, blue eyes.
He looks just like
he looks
me,
like
though.
Dennis the Menace.
So handsome.
Plus, she told me he's cheated on me. I've had friends tell me.
Whoa, did he just say that baby Bentley looks like Dennis the Menace? These couples come in with a whole new taste for drama each time. Here we go again with the semblance card in court. If baby Bentley has blonde hair and blue eyes, the features of the mother really don't matter then. It's always the father's physical features that are expressed on the genes after all.
Pregnant with Bentley, and I had wrote him a letter telling him it was about 10 people, 10 of them.
And you admitted that you had been with 10 other men.
Yes, Your Honor.
Phew, so there really were at least 10 people she had sex with during her window of conception. How exactly is Miss Hewlett bothered that Mr. Crisp does not think he is the father? How does that play out in her head? You tell him that you're pregnant, but you've been with 10 others. And she expects him to believe that he's the Messiah and the chosen one.
Fight before, and she says, well, you just need to go on because you're not really his father anyways. A little later, she wants to call me on the phone and say, well, Noah's, what's my oldest son, he wants you back. I don't want to have nothing to do with you, but you need to come live with me, like I'm supposed to.
Whoa, whoa, whoa. On top of all of the uncertainty associated with the entire conception date, she still brought out the "you're not the real father anyway" card. With all of this, she's in disbelief that Mr. Crisp keeps denying baby Bentley. It looks like someone's not the sharpest tool in the shed.
Did you tell him he was not Bentley's father?
I have said that, Your Honor.
In your heart of hearts, did you think he really wasn't Bentley's father?
At times I do think he's not.
And you say the other gentleman is now deceased?
Yes, ma'am, he is.
Wait a minute, even Ms. Hewlett has her doubts, and that wraps up this case on paternity court. Everyone should really go home. If she already admits to not knowing whether or not the baby is Mr. Crisp's, what are we all doing here?
Really doesn't look like Joe, but I hope he is Joe's, because that way I made the mistake of Paula's dad could be 3 different men. And I want to break that cycle, because if Bentley has a different dad, he needs to know that when he gets older.
Hold up, so this is a generational thing? Oh, Ms. Bergen, did your ex-husband cheat on you too? Was that why there were 2 other prospective fathers involved in your daughter's birth? And to wait till she was 11 before she told her about it, isn't that just something?
I mean, I was the only one that worked. I was the only one trying to take care of everything.
I was trying to work all the time.
Him.
People just didn't pay me.
Now, I have a grand question that I'd love answered. If you weren't happy in the relationship...
Dang, Judge Lake hit the spot. She hit the nail right on the head too. All of this bickering from Ms. Hewlett was capped shut by one grand question. If Ms. Hewlett continues to make excuses as to why she can't leave Mr. Crisp, this would be an unending cycle of cheating and unhappiness. She's already down by 10 men. Would she get to 50?
I'm not happy, you're not here, and yet you keep repeating the same cycle over and over again. Either you're physically unavailable because you're out partying or locked up.
Phew, it looks like Judge Lake is putting both mother and father in their place today. Now, after all of this, one can only hope that both parties actually become complacent about their mistakes and do something about them. Baby Bentley is their responsibility, and they do need to understand that. Now, let's get the results.
Mr. Crisp, you are his father.
Ms. Williams and her 2 sisters are in court today because their mother's past promiscuous behavior led to them growing up without knowing their fathers. Their mom, Ms. Liddell, is also here to finally put an end to the paternity mystery because her daughters still punish her for past mistakes.
It was this man who was supposedly had been my father, and we were all wanting to know, like his family, him, my aunt that raised me and Jasmine, we wanted the paternity test. We were all there and ready.
This is about to be one chaotic case. One thing that we know already is that these girls do not like their mother. And maybe, just maybe, the mother doesn't like them too. Let's find out more.
As growing up, family members would say, no, he's not your father. It was a rumor going around that.
Who is that?
James.
The man who's going to appear in court today and has been tested?
Yes.
All right, so how do you start getting doubt?
When I was about 17 years old, me and her had an argument.
It's tasking trying to understand the issue at hand. The girls grew up thinking a particular man, James, was their father. But their mom would say during arguments that he wasn't. And then, this Mr. James doesn't treat all the girls equally because he doesn't think they're all his.
He calls out her name. Who are you? You talking about some, so you don't know who I am. Talking about some, I don't know. You talking about some, yes you do. She talking about some, oh, Lisa, they're your daddy. You're not gonna know this is my daddy when you look at him. But you tell me, that's your daddy.
I was never there for them. I'll give them that. I wasn't about nothing.
Whew, this family has more problems than paternity court can fix. The youngest, Lisa, doesn't believe James is her father. All 3 girls still carry the pain of being abandoned by their mother and left with relatives. However, their mother has her reasons for doing so.
Do you know who her father is?
I don't know. I'm gonna tell you, I'm gonna be honest. Jamie, no. Lisa, no. Jasmine, no. I'm not for sure if James is their father, if he's not their father. Because I was whorish. I did me. I ran the streets. Okay, you can keep your slab remarks. I was whorish.
It's easy to see where the girls are coming from. The woman has no idea who the father of any of her 3 kids is. This means that even Mr. James Williams might not be the father of any of them.
Deep in my heart, Your Honor, and I hate to say it, and it's hurting me to say it too, but no, I do not.
You don't act like it, so it shouldn't be hurting you. He said no. You don't act like it. You sure don't act like it.
What are your doubts? What are your doubts based
don't believe
upon?
he's your daddy.
I always had the doubt in my heart. When I met their mom, he was living a type of lifestyle as a...
While Mr. James has been present in their lives to the best of his abilities, he's never been 100% sure he's their dad. And the girls have felt the same way. Imagine living your life not knowing for sure if your father's really your father or your child's really your child. That's just so sad.
Why did you miss my 8th grade graduation? You weren't away.
Because
you were out. You were able to come. Why did you miss it?
Jamie, because I was a piece of, like, I'm not gonna keep down on myself, but I didn't care about y'all.
You see, it's not even about their paternity anymore. These girls need to go to therapy with their mother to dissect the pent-up hurt both parties feel. Even if they find out who their fathers are, they're still going to walk out of this court, calling their mother the most insulting names.
Children with young people, because it will eat away at them, break them down and lead them down the same road you were. Somebody broke you down.
Where's the use? Because I done told them so many things and said so much, I'm gonna do this, I'm gonna get better.
This is a case like no other, because it's not only about finding out who their father is. This is about a mother whose kids wouldn't give her a chance to redeem herself. This is about 3 girls who grew up without a mother and have learned to hate her. This is about a broken home. This is about broken people.
Get better if the only thing you require of her is that she continue to tell you what a piece of crap she's been to you. Look, let me call it the way I see it. You see her, she living her agony every day. Judge. Sometimes there's nothing you can do to punish a person more than they punish themselves.
Judge Lauren summed it up perfectly. The girls need to give their mom a breather because the woman is obviously aware she has done wrong by them and is living with the agony every single day. Could they give her a chance to right her wrongs?
Truly believe that what you need in your life and what you're wanting in your life is not just gonna come from finding out who your father is, but it's gonna truly come when you begin to find out who your mother was.
It's best we get to the results already. Let's find out if Mr. Williams is the father of any of the girls.
Mr. Williams, you are her father.
It began with a stare-off across the courtroom, quiet storm brewing between 2 people who once shared something more intimate than accusations. On one side stood Miss Marsh, a young mother demanding accountability. On the other, Mr. Reed, a man who insisted he had been trapped in a web of deception. The question here is simple. Is Reed the father of 1-year-old Tamari? Or was this an elaborate attempt to force a relationship that had never truly existed?
Ms. Marsh, you and your mom have demanded the defendant, Mr. Reed, appear in court today because you say he denies your 1-year-old daughter, Tamari, only when you deny his desire to have a relationship with you. Mr. Reed, you claim that Ms. Marsh has confessed to you that you may not be Tamari's biological father.
But Miss Marsh was unwavering in her claim. Reed had been part of her life, present for the key moments, even showering her older child with extravagant gifts and birthday parties. A man who denied fatherhood, she argued, wouldn't have spent thousands on a child who wasn't his.
Torrance wrote me on Facebook telling me that he was coming for me, like coming to be in a relationship with me. And then when he get there, everything was going good. He was asking me like he was mad because I had 2 kids before him.
But Reed was just as resolute in his defense. He had his reasons, his doubts. He claimed Marsh had admitted, at least once, that he might not be the father. He portrayed himself as a man cornered, manipulated into a story that wasn't his truth. To him, this wasn't about fatherhood. It was about control, about a woman who refused to let go. He insisted they were never in an exclusive relationship, that she had known he was involved with other women, and then came the bombshell.
She knew I was dating other women.
I never knew he was dating other women. On Torrance's birthday, he asked me to go on a trip with him to a resort with his family. When we get to Missouri, 2 women pop up at the hotel room, and he said, "This is my wife." And I said, "It's over."
Your Honor, on the way to the...
What?
Your Honor, on the way...
Hold on.
Introduce your side chick to your wife? Now that's something even Judge Lauren hadn't seen before, but the story isn't over. According to Marsh, Reed had taken her on what she believed was a romantic getaway, only to introduce her to his wife. Reed, however, had no shame in his confession. He was a man who wanted multiple wives, he declared, and Marsh had always known this.
He telling me he loved me and all kinds of stuff. He want to get married. I didn't know nothing about him wanting 4 wives.
Really?
I didn't.
Really? Come on, Miss Marsh. Cut it out.
It's your testimony. You informed her of your desire.
Yes, it is.
Judge Lake's patience wore thin as she listened to the tangled mess of claims and counterclaims. Miss Marsh, the child's mother, was adamant, insisting that despite her past, despite the whispers of doubt, Mr. Reed was the biological father.
Like, I've been knowing him since I was 18, and this really hurt. This hurt. And then he want to go travel state to state to have different babies and find another wife, and he get these women involved, and they write me.
The case had not only taken its toll on Mr. Reed emotionally, but also played out in the public eye, where social media had become a courtroom of its own. A Facebook post was admitted as evidence. But Judge Lauren had an important question.
That was like
someone posted a picture of the baby.
Exactly.
And said, congratulations on your new baby. And Mr. Reed, you responded.
Don't be too quick to say it,
But
because
wrote-
that's how I felt.
But wrote
I
me
don't know
that
for
same
sure.
day.
So what is your doubt exactly? Because you have not testified.
Because every time she get angry with me, the first thing she do is say, "You're not the father. This other
And I don't
gentleman is
blame
the father that she was sleeping with."
The court now turned to the crucial evidence, a conception calculator. Tamari was born on April 15th, 2016. Backtracking, the probable window of conception fell between July 18th and July 23rd, 2015. The timing, Marsh insisted, aligned perfectly with her relationship with Reed. But when pressed about another man, she admitted she had engaged in another relationship just days after her supposed conception date with Reed. This murks up the timeline.
Did you inform both of them
Yes,
that they were both potentially the father?
Yes, I did, but the conception date matched up to Mr. Reed.
Let me grab my conception calculator. Tell me, when was Tamari born?
April 15th.
All right, April 15th, 2016. If we hit calculate, the conception date would be July 18th to July 23rd, 2015.
For a year, Reed had tried to do what he believed was right. Despite his doubts, he had moved in with Marsh, spending 7 months in a fragile domestic arrangement, attempting to forge a bond with Tamari. She called him Dada. Now, he had to face the possibility that he had been living a lie. The paternity test results were in, and the courtroom held its breath.
Mr. Reed, you are not the father.
Well,
The collective gasp from the courtroom barely registered with Reed, who let out a bitter laugh. With the arrogance of a winner, he claimed that the paternity should have been obvious, and that's when Judge Lauren read him for filth.
Now, Mr. Reed, you were perfectly fine when she was one of many. Now you got a problem because you was one of many.
No, I don't have a
No,
I don't have a problem with it.
no.
The moment Ms. Sales stepped into the courtroom, it was clear she wasn't here to argue. She was here to demand accountability. For 5 years, she had been involved with D'Amico Jackson, a man who, she claimed, had once begged her to have a child with him. But now, as their 3-year-old daughter, Micaiah, played blissfully unaware of the battle unfolding around her, Jackson stood unmoved, dismissing Sales as nothing more than a former fling trying to trap him.
Miss Sales, you claim that you and the defendant, Mr. Jackson, were in a serious relationship and it was his idea to have a baby. But now that your 3-year-old daughter, Micaiah, is here, he denies being her father.
From the very start, Jackson made his position clear. He was not Micaiah's father. To him, Sales had been a side woman, someone he enjoyed in secrecy but never committed to.
Mr. Jackson, you claim that Miss Sales is a former side chick who is trying to pin a baby on you only because she wants you back in her life. You are certain you are not her daughter's father. Is that correct?
Yes, Your Honor.
However, Sales wasn't just fighting for financial support. She was fighting to restore the truth, to expose the cowardice she believed Jackson was hiding behind. According to her, they had been inseparable.
I was with D'Amico for 5 years. We were in a relationship. We had our baby, and now because he sits up and talks to his family, now he feels like that is not his child. Since the day my daughter was born, because she was light-skinned with gray eyes, that was not his child.
I know you gasped in the courtroom, but we have to hear Mr. Jackson out. Jackson maintained that there had never been a real relationship, that he had always made his intentions clear. Sales was never more than a casual encounter, nothing more than a good time. A very good one.
Mr. Jackson, she said you were in a 5-year relationship. Is that true?
No, ma'am.
So what were we doing, Miko?
What were you doing?
Huh?
You know, she was like my side woman.
Your side woman?
She was your side woman.
Miko, you gonna stand her
So
and lie?
it's your testimony you weren't in a relationship at all.
I mean, we had a relationship, but it wasn't serious. You know, we was just, you know.
According to Miss Sales, Jackson couldn't get enough of her. She stated, and he admitted, that he had visited her every day, that he is always in her home, in her bed, making promises she thought were real. But now, he stood in front of the court, rewriting history.
So did you make that clear, or were you making her feel like she was your real woman, but really you were just having a side woman?
She was just my side woman. I made it clear to her before. She understood.
Stop lying. He came to my house every single day. He
Yeah, I
lived
did,
at my
Your Honor.
house every single day.
The potential father is sure that Ms. Sales is fabricating stories. His certainty was rooted in the judgment of family members who pointed at Micaiah's light skin and gray eyes as supposed proof that she couldn't possibly be his. Who needs a DNA test when we have got family?
Why is it
you think you can't be Micaiah's biological father. It seems like you at least a possibility.
Your Honor, one day I was on my family member house doing some work with him, and a friend of us called and said that they seen her in a car with some light-skinned guy with dreads, and said this who she been seeing, it's a possibility could be her baby daddy or anything like that. This was told to me.
Then, the judge turned her focus to Jackson's sister, Dernisha, who had come to testify. Dernisha spoke of a late-night phone call in which Jackson revealed that Sales had confessed to sleeping with another man. That revelation only deepened the suspicion that Makia might not be Jackson's child.
What you know about this situation?
D'Amico called me crying one night because he said Ashley admitted to him that she had slept with the light-skinned dude with dreads, and there's a possibility that Micaiah might not be his.
The case shifted as Jackson explained how he had tried, allegedly, to take a DNA test, but was thwarted by Ms. Sales' tearful breakdown at the courthouse. Jackson claimed he didn't want to hurt Sales, but his emotional turmoil was a poor excuse for sidestepping the truth. As tensions rose, the judge, visibly annoyed, had to step in.
Miss Sales, you got a lot of mouth for everybody, but you ain't gonna have a lot of mouth for me. And if what you're saying is true, that envelope is gonna validate it. You don't have to act a fool for it.
Again.
Because you don't have to act a fool for the truth.
Sales accused Jackson of playing both sides, caught between two women, neither of which he seemed able to fully embrace. Everyone braced themselves with anticipation as Judge Lake prepared to announce the results of the paternity test.
Mr. Jackson, you are the father.
Now I know who my baby daddy is.
When Deja was born, the last thing Tony Miller expected was to stand in a courtroom questioning whether he was the father. But as the days wore on, doubt crept in. She had left him once, for another man. When she returned, Tony had taken her back, but the damage was done. Now, Tony was staring at a reality where Deja, his newborn daughter, might not be his at all.
Mr. Miller, you claim your girlfriend, Ms. Troutman, left you for another man.
Yes,
you
ma'am.
say that when she returned, you forgave her and quickly resumed your sexual relationship.
Yes.
Shortly after, she announced she was pregnant.
Ms. Troutman didn't deny the affair. She admitted to it, in fact, she justified it. According to her, Tony wasn't taking care of her or their family. She felt neglected, abandoned, and emotionally distant. While she struggled to raise their daughter, Tony's mother had stepped in to play the role of caretaker, buying diapers, providing shelter, and supporting Miss Troutman when Tony could not. She wasn't just frustrated by Tony's lack of responsibility, she was furious at his mother's interference in their relationship.
Yes.
How did you end up in this situation?
Well, I wouldn't have been sleeping around with other men if he was doing his responsibility as a father and taking care of his girls and me also. He wasn't buying diapers, wipes, clothes. His mother was the man of our relationship. She took care of us.
And so, she sought comfort elsewhere. When Tony left town for just a week, she reconnected with another man. By the time Tony returned, she had moved on. And when he found her with another man holding their child, his world came crashing down.
Yes, we have a second child, Deja.
And you have doubts about number two.
I do have doubts.
Why?
And I seen her with another guy at the plasma center. And he was holding my firstborn. I said, who's this guy holding my kid? And she said...
Now the stakes were higher than ever. Tony stood in the courtroom, his frustration building. As the case unfolded, the timeline of Miss Troutman's encounters with 3 different men was revealed. Miss Troutman admitted she had been intimate with the man, but she claimed that it was only after their breakup. Tony wasn't convinced.
Miss Troutman, you admit that during that time, you were intimate with another man.
Yes.
And during that time, were you intimate with anyone else?
No. Well, yes, I was when me and him, I'm sorry.
Really?
Yes, I was. When,
Although Tony was hurt that the plasma guy had had his daughter on his hand, he was about to learn a new kind of hurt. Miss Troutman continued with her story, but the judge can't help but wonder how she does it.
I ran out the house, slipped on a banana peel, and landed in the bed with somebody else.
No, that is not what happened.
I'm trying to figure out how this
That's not what happened, no.
leads up.
Miss Troutman wasn't about to stay silent. She brought calendar evidence to back up her claims, each event color-coded and carefully documented. Meanwhile, Tony held on to a fragile hope that, despite everything, he might still be Deja's father.
So you have a February calendar laid out so we can understand what all was going on. In yellow, we have the dates you were with the chat line guy.
Yes, ma'am.
The green outlines the dates you were with the guy at the plasma center.
Yes, ma'am.
The judge was appalled by their behavior. She reminded them both that they were parents, and parents had responsibilities. Irresponsibility, no matter how hard the circumstances, was not an excuse. For allowing the dysfunction of their relationship to overshadow the needs of the children, Judge Lauren lashed out at them.
This relationship is now in jeopardy because of choices you both made. Immature choices. We're not just talking about Deja. You have another child together.
Yes.
Tony's mother offered a perspective of her own. As a grandmother, she had watched the child grow and could not help but feel a deep connection to her. She, too, had wondered if the child looked more like someone else, someone other than Tony.
And I seen that guy. Deja looks just like him. I wanted to believe her because she said it was my son's baby, it's my
Which
grandbaby.
guy did you see?
And family is not a game. It was not a place for careless choices or emotional manipulation. Then came the moment that would tear the family apart. The room held its breath as the judge read the results aloud.
Mr. Miller,
Yes, Your Honor.
you are not her father.
Hey.
Patrice,
baby, I love you, baby. I will.
At the heart of the case is Ms. Hatcher's 2-year-old son, Josiah, caught in a paternity battle between 3 men, each one adamant that they weren't his father, and all but one unwilling to take responsibility.
Ms. Hatcher, you confessed that at the time you conceived your 2-year-old son, Josiah, you had sexual relations with 3 men. Now, you don't want your son to suffer for your mistakes, so you've requested paternity testing on all 3 men.
Yes, Your Honor.
Ms. Hatcher confessed that around the time of Josiah's conception, she'd been involved with 3 men, each unaware of the others. She explained that her relationships were messy and complicated. There had been a 5.5-month fling with Mr. Scott, a 7.5-year relationship with her ex, and a one-night stand with Mr. Blake, all happening in the same window of time.
Now, Mr. Scott, you claim Ms. Hatcher led you to believe you were the only potential father of this child until she told you in anger that she needed a DNA test.
Yes, Your Honor, that is true.
Mr. Blake, you claim there's no way you're the child's father, and you're going to prove that today.
Yes, ma'am.
From the get-go, Scott seemed ready for a fight. In an effort to untangle the mess, Miss Hatcher presented a calendar marking the days she had slept with each man. The evidence was as chaotic as the situation itself, with overlapping dates in December, a mere few days apart, suggesting all 3 men could have had an equal chance of fathering Josiah.
I have a calendar right here.
Oh, that will help us. Jerome, please. As we see here on the calendar, the yellow represents you, Mr. Scott. For Mr. Blake, that's represented in the blue. We're looking at the window of conception.
Okay.
Mr. Sneed is in green.
But it wasn't just the men who were frustrated. The courtroom was surprised at the 3 fathers, each in their own way voicing their doubts about being Josiah's father. Mr. Scott, who had signed the birth certificate and raised the child as his own for 2 years, was particularly vocal. His frustration was clear as he revealed he'd been blindsided when Miss Hatcher demanded a DNA test, citing her fear that he might try to take Josiah from her.
I want to understand from your perspective why you are doubtful.
Okay, I'm doubtful because she said out of her own mouth, DNA test. I didn't know nothing about her situation. When she came and told me she was pregnant, I believed her.
Okay.
Because she's a woman.
While Mr. Scott was willing to play the part of a father, even buying diapers and spending time with Josiah, he couldn't shake the feeling that something didn't add up. Mr. Blake, the second man in question, was less inclined to take responsibility. He too had slept with Miss Hatcher around the time of conception and admitted that there was a chance Josiah could be his, but he made it clear he wasn't willing to shoulder that burden without solid proof.
Miss Hatcher, on the 26th of December, that's the day after Christmas, you should remember that.
We got a hotel room that night. Possibility it could be mine. If it's mine, I don't have a problem with taking care of mine.
Was it protect sex on that day?
We had a little alcohol, but I think so, Your Honor.
Mr. Sneed, the third man, had been left in the dark for almost 2 years before Miss Hatcher told him he might be Josiah's father. He too had doubts, but that did not stop her from telling the court who Scott really is.
This man, you know he's homeless, and I let him stay at my house at night. I don't want him to be my baby's father because he's 43 years old. He don't want to work.
But you slept with him without protection.
Yeah, I did.
Miss Hatcher really didn't want Scott to be the father of her child. She pointed out characteristics in the other men that showed them as the possible fathers. The judge understood her pain, but there's something more at stake here. It wasn't about her, it was about Josiah, their son, who deserved answers and stability, and the judge made sure they understood that.
When this man stepped up and signed the birth certificate, then really that should have been, that's it. Because that's what babies deserve. Their mother and their father in the hospital, when they're born, signing the birth certificate and living their life. Not 2 years later, still sitting up here arguing.
For the mother, the emotional burden was overwhelming. Finally, the moment arrived, the moment of truth. DNA diagnostics had spoken, and their findings would settle this once and for all.
Mr. Sneed is not Josiah's father. When it comes to Mr. Blake, you are not the father.
I'm sorry.
When it comes to Mr. Scott, you are the father.
For Mr. Scott, the news was the sweetest. After months of uncertainty, he finally has the confirmation that he is the father. However, Miss Hatcher was devastated. As they struggled with their feelings, the judge had a few choice words for them.
This doesn't have to happen again, and you don't have to perpetuate this whole nightmare onto your child. And as long as you disrespect him, and as long as you disrespect her, then Josiah is gonna pay for it. Now you wanna roll your eyes, you wanna go home, sit your butt down somewhere and think about what I said. Because I'm gonna tell you right now, I am furious.
The courtroom buzzed with the tension of a dispute that had spiraled far beyond a simple question of paternity. On one side, Kakitho Hughes stood in silence, caught between two powerful forces: his mother, Lisa McBirth, and his lover, Ms. Jackson, the mother of his alleged child. The case before the court had torn their fragile relationships apart, and the stakes had never been higher.
Mr. Hughes, you say you're stuck between your mother and your ex-girlfriend who are in a heated dispute in court today. Ms. McBirth, you petitioned the court for a DNA test to prove your son, Kakitho Hughes, is not the father of Ms. Jackson's 2-year-old son, Elijah Jackson.
Right from the bat, Lisa went for Ms. Jackson. Lisa, certain that the paternity of Elijah Jackson was a lie, was also suing Ms. Jackson for defamation. She is ready to fight for her family as she claimed had been wronged by Ms. Jackson's accusations.
So, Ms. McBirth, why do you believe your son's not the father?
This woman is trouble. She is trouble with a capital T. She, as a matter of fact, I call her the 3 T's. Trash, trouble, and trifling. That's what she is. The little boy looks nothing like my son or any member of my family.
At the heart of the conflict was the question of fatherhood. Ms. Jackson stood firm in her claim that Hughes was the father of her child, Elijah, but Lisa wasn't having it.
Ms. Jackson, obviously you have a different opinion.
Yes, ma'am.
So why do you think she's in so much doubt over your child?
I have no idea, to be honest. Like, maybe because he is so white?
Because he all the white. He ain't got no black in him. Everything I see got powder puff on it. I don't see no chocolate nowhere, okay?
No, ma'am.
Ms. Jackson told the court that she and Hughes had been in a relationship for more than a year and had been with nobody else. However, it seems she is lucky to be saying that in a courtroom because these two seem ready to throw hands.
Now she knows she lying. She lying.
Yes, ma'am.
This DNA right here has been in our life. She's never was a girlfriend. You are a vampire. You are just a fly-by-night. We didn't know anything about you. He's been in a relationship for 10 years. So
Mr. Hughes has.
10 years.
In 10 years.
Babies
he's been
by another
for 2
woman.
years.
Genetics can be wild, and it's now common knowledge that when two races mix, they can come out in all shapes and colors. Perhaps Lisa and her daughter are not aware, so the judge had to remind them.
Of course, state the obvious, which I'm hoping you know as well, being African American. You know our children come in all colors, shades.
Elijah
She told me
he was white.
She told me she didn't know who the father was. She's changed her story up different times about who's the father.
Ms. Jackson's demeanor seems to suggest that there might be some truth in Lisa's accusations. The courtroom quickly became a battlefield where accusations flew and truths were twisted. Lisa and her daughter insisted that Ms. Jackson had made a mockery of the family by claiming her son was the father.
I'm sick of all these little hookers trying to say my son is the daddy. I'm sick of it. I get babies dropped off here, dropped off there. I'm sick of it.
But
and it stops today, because that baby is not my son.
What had begun as a question about who fathered a child had erupted into a fierce clash of egos, emotions, and accusations that left the judge frustrated. So, she called on Hughes, the potential husband, to give his take on the issue.
Mr. Hughes, what is your side of this? Please stand, sir. Step up to the podium. Do you believe you are Elijah's father?
I just gave him the benefit of the doubt because I'm biracial. My father's white, so
As the case wore on, the judge listened intently but grew increasingly frustrated. The conflicting testimonies made it impossible to discern the truth without evidence. But that's when the turning point came. The much-awaited paternity test results. It was the one thing that could silence the dispute once and for all.
Mr. Hughes, you are Elijah's father.
No! That's a lie! That's a lie! That's a lie! That's a lie! That's not true!
Now that is anger. Lisa and her daughter are so convinced that little Elijah was not their son that they doubted the DNA results and even suggested she must have interfered with it. Now it's the judge's turn to be angry.
But one thing I do know, let me tell you something as a mother. Anybody in this world that wants to clap
at the thought of not being in my baby's life, don't ever have to see him.
Amen. Thank you.
Do you understand?
'Cause I don't want
Thank
to.
You
I don't
don't
want to.
call
Thank you.
them for anything.
A mother's love is supposed to be unconditional, but in the courtroom, it was a battlefield. Mr. Andrews stood before the judge, declaring that his ex-partner, Ms. Corbett, had betrayed him in a way that cut to the core. Not only did he doubt the paternity of the child they had together, but he accused her of forging his name on the birth certificate of 5-month-old Quinn Andrews Jr.
Mr. Andrews, you and your mother are in court today suing your ex, Ms. Corbett, for paternity fraud because you claim she forged your signature on the birth certificate of her 5-month-old son, Quinn Andrews Jr.
But his ex, standing just across the aisle, vehemently denied any wrongdoing, suggesting instead that his mother had poisoned his mind. According to Ms. Corbett, there's no way she could have possibly forged Andrews' signature.
Ms. Corbett, you say Mr. Andrews is doubting your son because he does not want to be a responsible adult and because he has a meddling mother. Is that correct?
Yes, Your Honor.
If Judge Lauren wants to get to the root of this matter, she would have to dig deep. Andrews laid out the reasons for his claim. He insisted that his name was added on the certificate without his consent.
Mr. Andrews, why do you believe your signature was forged on Quinn Jr.'s birth certificate?
I don't know, Your Honor. I didn't sign anything, and somehow my name still managed to get put on the birth certificate. I have a copy of it right here.
Let me see that birth certificate. Quinn Andrews Sr., name of father, right underneath. But you didn't sign it.
No, ma'am.
The judge, clearly skeptical, turned her attention to the birth certificate itself, searching for answers. Ms. Corbett wasted no time in defending herself. Just like all of us, she found the accusation weird.
Ms. Corbett, did you put his name on there?
No, it's no way possible for me to just put his name on a birth certificate. The only reason why he's saying that he did not sign the birth certificate is because his mother told him not to sign my child's birth certificate. I mean, anybody that has kids.
Ms. Corbett's defense was unshakable, yet her credibility took a hit as Andrews elaborated on the fractured relationship. Andrews' mother described Ms. Corbett as possessive, verbally abusive, and accused her of infidelity.
We were in a relationship, but I could never say it was actually a committed one because every time we hit a bumpy road in our relationship or we get into an argument about anything, it could be simple. Quinn is out the door, right back to his mama.
Ms. Corbett came prepared. Wait a second, let me get my popcorn. This is not going to be a walk in the park. The accusations only piled up as Andrews recounted the discovery of a Magnum wrapper under the sofa. He insisted it wasn't his and questioned whether it belonged to another man.
Your Honor, I doubt for the simple fact that while we was together, I happened to clean up the house one day where we stayed at. I found the empty Magnum wrapper under the sofa, which she claimed was mine, which it wasn't, because all of them we used, I throw away.
It was his.
Tell him about that day that you came home from work and she had another man running out the back door.
Like a...
Yes.
Andrews explained that his cousin, who lived across the street, had witnessed a man sneaking out of the back of the apartment. He claimed that this man, whom he suspected of being another lover, had tried to avoid being seen, further fueling his distrust. As Andrews listed one infidelity claim after another, Ms. Corbett denied them all, calling him a liar, but her words seemed to lose power with each new accusation.
This your only doubt?
No, ma'am. I have more than one.
What else?
I found messages in her phone where some guy obviously was telling her, leave the back door open and be naked when I arrive.
Oh, you saw the message?
Yes, ma'am. She denied that in my face, and I'm looking at the message in the phone. That's one reason.
The bitter back and forth between Ms. Corbett and Mr. Andrews had grown into a full-scale battle, their accusations and defenses bouncing back and forth like a relentless game. But when Andrew was supposed to take initiative, he provided an excuse and Judge Lauren goes ballistic.
Why didn't you just take your child with you?
Your Honor, I couldn't take him with me.
You didn't have a car seat?
No, ma'am. I was walking like 2 or 3 miles, so he couldn't come with me.
You can carry a 5-month-old baby 2 or 3 miles that's yours and got your name?
No, Your Honor.
The judge, caught between the animosity and the drama, tried to focus on the facts. She knew the case hinged on the paternity of little Quinn. Was he truly Andrews' son, or was this just another chapter in a deeply broken relationship?
Mr. Andrews, you are the father.
Ms. Francois brings her girlfriend Ms. Perry to Judge Lauren's courtroom in what appears to be a case of betrayal. She claims she gave Ms. Perry shelter when she had nowhere else to go, and she started having an affair with her son under her roof. Now Ms. Perry claims her son is the father of her child.
You have a friend, Ms. Perry, of a paternity test, taking Miss Go sleep on names.
Yes.
I knew I being a God and helper. Yes.
Ms. Francois said she met Ms. Perry at a church picnic where she learned of her predicament. She decided to help her by providing food and shelter for her for free, and she betrayed her.
So you think she stabbed you in the back by sleeping with your son?
Oh, she did.
So, Ms. Perry, you see this differently.
Yes, I do.
You moved into her home and you accepted her help.
Contrary to what Ms.
Appreciated it?
Francois claims, Ms. Perry said she was already with her son before she came to her house. She said that Ms. Francois was aware of this relationship. Ms. Francois gasped in shock, claiming she had no idea of such a relationship.
You were with her son how long before you moved in?
We were talking maybe about 2 or 3 weeks prior to that. Were you there when we got together?
Excuse me, my kids tell me
Ms. Francio said if she had known about the relationship, she wouldn't have offered Ms. Penny free accommodation. Ms. Penny said she had been talking with the son 2 to 3 weeks prior, that she was introduced as her son's girlfriend. Ms. Francois stared at her with disbelief.
Space she was on, what planet or what? Because we wasn't together. I'm the one that initiated it because
So how do you
I
think
didn't
we're a
know
cute
nothing.
couple if we're not together?
Excuse me, because I found out of your past.
A heated argument broke out between both women.
did you
Ms.
find
Francois
out?
said part of the reason why she's doubtful about Ms. Penny's claim was because of her past. She was a lesbian. This all later came to light after she started living with them.
Suggesting that your children could somehow be harmed because Miss Perry is a lesbian seems incredibly far-fetched. You truly don't believe.
Ms. Perry said she was upfront with Ms. Francois from the very start. She told her that her son was the first man she had ever been with, that she had raised a good man. Ms. Francois wasn't having any of that. Her facial expression was filled with disgust.
What do you recall saying?
We were sitting on your porch, and I got introduced to her as the girlfriend.
So you're doubting that this child is your son's based upon what?
It's just the point how she did everything.
Ms.
and she lied
Francois
about
said that
all
Ms.
the
Penny
other
has
stuff,
never
and
been
she's-
honest with
she's
her.
still
So how can
lying,
she now
because
be
she
honest about
never
the
told me
paternity of the
that
child?
about her
That her lifestyle was a
situation.
thing to
I
be
had to
weary
find
of,
out
especially
from
when she
someone
tried to
else,
hit on her.
like my
Mrs.
daughter,
Penny said
about
nothing of that
her
nature
lifestyle,
happened, that she
and then
respected
she
her
hit on
as the
me.
mother of her boyfriend.
Thank you for joining us today. Tell us,
Okay,
do you believe her child is your child?
Ms. Francois' son was called to the stand to give his account. He said he believed he's the father of the baby, but he couldn't sign the birth certificate because Ms. Penny was still legally married to her ex. Ms. Francois also said she told her son not to sign anything until he did the paternity
She was
test.
married and the whole legal situation with that.
Ms. Mr. McCreary, you are the father.
Bam.
Ms. Francois said it's not the first time her son has been accused of getting women pregnant. It has happened 7 times. The son said it was a huge bone of contention at home, that he didn't want to get a DNA test, but Ms. Penny insisted they should because of his mother. Only the DNA result from Judge Lauren can bury the hatchet.
You've asked the court for time alone here before testimony begins to tell the court about your
A
brother.
sister, Ms. Gibson, appears in court to defend
You
her
say
dead
he
brother
was
against 3
murdered
women
and
who claim
left
he's the
behind
father of their
many
respective kids.
unanswered
She's accompanied by her aunt, Ms. Pierce, who
including
came to lend her
3
support.
women who all claimed he fathered their children. Circumstances surrounding you coming here today.
Okay. In October 2011, my father called me with a very devastating phone call.
Ms.
He
Gibson
told me
narrated the
that
gruesome
my
story
older
of how she
brother,
lost her
Quadrivius,
brother.
had
With
been
glistened
shot.
eyes,
On
she
my
took
way to
several
the
pauses
hospital,
because
I
of
got
the
a phone
grief.
call
She
from
said
my
the different
younger
women
sister,
kept
and
popping
she
up
told me
after
that
her brother's
he didn't
demise,
make it.
claiming he was
She
the
told me
father of
that
their
he had
kids.
died.
She wants to find out the truth today.
Of my daughters, Zalayla.
And all 3 of you are here because you believe that GQ was the father of your children?
The three women were summoned into the courtroom:
I'd like to
Rose,
speak to you
Robbs,
one at a
and Webb.
time,
Robbs
and I wanna
opened the
start
floor
with
by
Ms.
giving her account on how she met the brother. They were in a relationship, but he was constantly cheating on her, and she was fed up and decided to cheat on him too with her ex.
Around this time, I didn't tell him that I have had an affair with someone else.
Okay.
So everything was going good, and he had got incarcerated. So I ended up telling my ex that I was pregnant.
Robbs got pregnant after the affair, but never told the brother she had an affair. The child took the name of her ex. This was confirmed by Ms. Gibson, hence the uncertainty concerning her paternity.
My baby father was gonna sleep with his son.
Woo! It's complicated now. Hold on, you gotta break this down for me, Ms. Webb.
You and me both.
One of your children's fathers was coming by to see.
Webb took the stand. She said she was also dating the brother before he died. They were neighbors. At the time, her baby daddy was still in the picture. The baby daddy usually comes around.
Out with binoculars looking through your window.
Oh, I get it. So your brother, that was just I'm gonna leave you alone with him and see what happens. So no, I don't want to be here. But he had in his mind, you know your brother and your nephew well. So he had in his mind, I'm gonna see what's going on.
A rumor started going around that Webb was sleeping with her baby daddy, that he was responsible for her pregnancy. That was the origin of the doubt concerning the paternity of the child.
Accident, like we weren't really supposed to have, you know,
his brother.
But when I say it was all of us, we was like in the truck. We was in the truck.
Rose took the stand to give her own story. She started crying. Ms. Gibson said she doesn't know anything about her, that she contacted her aunt, Ms. Pierce, via Facebook. Rose said she was in a relationship with someone else during the time of her pregnancy, her ex-boyfriend.
That's what you're saying, right? Okay.
Contacted me on Facebook.
The boyfriend?
Yes, ma'am. I guess the boyfriend that she was with when they accidentally slept together in the McDonald's parking lot in the van. And he told me that
Ms. Gibson said she started digging around after the ex-boyfriend contacted her. She discovered there were other baby daddies in Rose's life. This made her doubtful about her claims that her brother was the father of the child.
That Mr. Gibson is her father.
Ms. Gibson said she was most doubtful about Rose's kid because of her promiscuity. The judge and the audience couldn't wait any longer. Only the DNA results can determine the real father of these kids.
Ms. Robinson, you are suing your mother for paternity fraud and are here to prove that Mr. Moore is your biological father.
Daughter, 36 years old, Ms. Robinson brings her own mother, Ms. Harms, to court in a case of birth certificate forgery, angrily confronting her for denying her the privilege of knowing who her real father was. Mrs. Harms says the claim is outrageous.
Yes, sure. And you plan to prove that today?
Yes, sure. Your Honor, I don't feel that I'm the one that waited the 36 years. I feel that my mom waited 36 years to help me find who my father is. And I have always, tried to ask
Ms.
her
Robinson said she had always tried asking her mother about her father, but to no avail. Ms. Harms interjected that she had always told her who her real father was. Ms. Robinson said she looked nothing like the man. Her mom said it doesn't matter.
For some reason, she was nervous. It wasn't that I was nervous. I just didn't want to come here at that time to listen to any more of their lies. Yeah, nobody wanted to deal with the past, but I'm the past.
Because
I need
Ms.
a dad.
Harms, in your mind, you're
Ms.
saying,
Harms said she has always been honest with her daughter.
Yes, ma'am. I had already moved on.
The daughter didn't agree. She said they were
father.
even supposed to appear in court 3 weeks earlier, but her mom was nervous. The mom said she's lying.
Rumors in the small town we're from in Arkansas, everybody says that this man is my dad. You know, he's always came to me and said he's my dad.
Really?
But the thing was, I was always being sent with the other
Ms.
man.
Robinson said she heard a lot of rumors from where they came from that the man who was outside the courtroom, Mr. Moore, was her real dad. A heated argument broke between her and her mom. The mom said the rumors are false.
So I want to understand this. You were told specifically, Mr. Moore is not your father.
Yes, by my mother.
Did you ask the question? How did this come up?
She had just told me one day, because, you know, I used to go back and forth from Michigan to Arkansas. So I guess she felt that if I went down to Arkansas, I might
Ms. Robinson said her mom specifically told her while growing up that Mr. Moore wasn't her real dad.
Never came to you and told you that he was your dad.
Her mom shook her head in disagreement.
And say in this courtroom, when people say to me, I did not have my father and I felt like there was a missing piece,
and it really
I say it because I have had my father, and he is loving and kind and my #1 fan, and I could not imagine my life without him in it.
That's all I want.
And when you say I never had that,
Ms. Harms said the judge shouldn't believe what her daughter is saying, that the daughter and Mr. Moore are compulsive liars.
Okay.
First I have
gray hair,
a birth certificate.
This is a
Ms.
birth
Robinson
certificate,
submitted her
you
birth
said?
certificate as evidence to the court. The signature on the father's side was very new, unlike the one of her mother's. When she requested for a new birth certificate because of an ID application she was doing, she discovered there was no father's signature. That was when it dawned on her that her mother forged the signature.
Me and Mr. Moore.
You on the left and Mr. Moore on the right.
And I also have another picture of our nose, Your Honor, when I was younger.
Oh, Lord.
This is side by side.
Every time
Ms.
I look
Robinson
in the mirror,
also submitted pictures showing her resemblance with Mr. Moore. The pictures were displayed on the screen for everyone to see. She also stated that Mr. Moore has premature gray hair, just like her. Another picture showing the similarities of their noses was displayed.
Mr. Moore, you are not her father.
Mr. Moore was called to the courtroom. He said he was in a sexual teenage relationship with Ms. Harms before she got pregnant. Ms. Harms said he's lying. Mr. Moore said he had always believed that he was the father, and he tried being involved in her life, but he wasn't allowed. Only the DNA results can settle this decades-long family feud. Show results.
Ms. Lusk, you and your mother say you have no doubt whatsoever when it comes to knowing who your 3-year-old daughter,
A grieving
Samari's
mother, Ms.
biological
Page, drags a
father
young woman,
is.
Ms.
Yes,
Lusk,
Your Honor.
to court who claims her deceased son is the father of her 3-year-old daughter. Ms. Page claims Ms. Lusk is lying because she wants to cash in from her son's life insurance policy, which was worth $50,000.
Yes, Your Honor.
Your daughter.
It's been more than extremely difficult being pregnant at 16, having to still go through school.
Ms. Lusk said she got pregnant when she was 16 years old, that she raised her daughter alone, that she never got any assistance from Ms. Page. Ms. Page interrupted her and a heated argument broke out. With raised voices, they exchanged words. Judge Lauren had to calm both parties down.
I had insurance on my son. I had an insurance policy that
we knew nothing about.
No,
Let her speak. Nothing about.
Unless it's
Ms. Lusk
proven
said she had been trying to get a DNA test for the past 3 years. Ms. Page said Ms. Lusk only wanted a portion of the insurance policy, $50,000, and she never met her. Ms. Lusk said they've met before when she came to see her son, and she didn't know anything about the life insurance policy.
Same time, this was my first time meeting you, Miss Page. Her exact words were, "You look like his type. You're very pretty, very small."
Miss Lust and Miss Anderson, my son didn't have a particular type. He was in a
Ms. Page said her son was in a committed relationship before he died, and it was not with Ms. Lusk. She said another woman had come forth earlier, claiming her son was the father of her child, and the DNA result came back negative.
Facebook or something like that.
No, ma'am. So please respond, Ms. Anderson. How do you know what happened?
I contacted Miss Page through Facebook to tell her to call me. She called me, and that's when I broke the news to her about my daughter being pregnant by
Ms.
her
Lusk's
son.
mother, who was also present in court, said she was the one that contacted Ms. Page when her daughter got pregnant on Facebook, that she never got a positive response from her.
The stroller.
What led up to that, Miss Page?
Hold on,
One at a time.
I know anything about a stroller because I'm not providing a stroller for a
When the
child
baby was
that
born,
doesn't
Ms.
know.
Page was
It
not
a
allowed
walk
any
with
visitation
everyone.
rights because of what she had posted on Facebook concerning the paternity of the child, that the child should not be named after her son. The birth certificate presented to the court showed that the child was still named after her son.
When I laid down and was intimate with him.
That's
permission.
It's not been
That's
proven.
permission.
It's not been proven.
But it will be today.
You're not
but it
his
will
wife.
be today. You're
not his
absolutely
wife.
correct. I don't have to be, and you're not either.
A quarrel broke between the three women. Apparently, they've been in constant communication with one another since the birth of the child. Both parties resented each other. The only thing holding them together was the baby, which Ms. Page is adamant doesn't belong to her late son.
Now, the animosity you all have built up, that is because you've handled the situation inappropriately. A situation this delicate.
Ms. Page said she asked people around, family members and relatives, including the friends of her late son, and none of them knew Ms. Lusk. Ms. Lusk said she was not aware the son was in another relationship until after he died. She found out on social media. It came as a shock to her.
The probability of relatedness between Miss Page and Samari Page is 99.
Ms. Lusk said she couldn't even attend the funeral, that Ms. Page was mean to her, slandering her on Facebook and calling her premature daughter ugly. Ms. Page didn't hold back. She repeated her statement in the courtroom to the dismay of everyone present. Only the DNA results can stop this squabble.
Curtis, you have brought your mother, Ms. Hall, court today because you say she hid the identity of your
A daughter,
father from
Ms.
you
Curtis,
for
brings her mother, Ms. Hall, to court for deceiving her for 14 years about the identity of her real father. Ms. Hall tells her that the man waiting outside the courtroom could be her biological father, but she's doubtful about it. Ms. Hall admits to deceiving her daughter for years.
Has been lying to me for the past years of my life, which was time was 14 years old, and that the man at the time was not my father. She said to me, "I want you to take
Ms.
it to
Curtis
your
said
grave,
she
but
learned
your
the
mother
truth from her
never owns up
grandmother,
and
who
tells
sat her
you
down
yourself."
and told her
I said,
who her
"Okay."
real
And
biological
I felt
father
that it
was.
the
She
truth
said she
because I
always
felt
felt
like
she
I
was adopted because
My
the man
father,
her
he
mother
really-
said was her real father at the time never showed her any affection. There was no bond between both of them.
Kurt lived pretty much like a fast lifestyle.
Okay.
And, you know, which attracted me to him. And being young, at the time when I got pregnant, I didn't even know
Ms.
that I
Hall
was
said she
pregnant,
never
'cause I didn't
told
know
her
anything
daughter about her
the body.
father
You didn't
because
know
she
what
got
it meant.
pregnant
You
at
were
the
just
age of
so
15
young.
years.
Yes. And
She
then
was
what
young
happened?
and scared.
About a month
She didn't know
passed by,
anything
and
about the
I would
female
say
body.
I
That was when
saw,
she
my
met
sight-
Kirk,
and I was like, oh.
before meeting the man whom she told her daughter was her father.
What your grandmother said. What did she tell you?
She began to tell me her own version of the story about who my alleged father at the time.
Ms. Curtis said when she confronted her mother after speaking with her grandmother, she told her a different version of events. She told her that the man at home with them wasn't her real father. Ms. Curtis told her that she was already aware that her grandmother told her. Her mom told her a different name entirely, and the name was not Kirk.
The time that I set forth for her was at the age of 16.
Ms. Hall said she wanted to tell her daughter the truth at the age of 16 on her own terms.
I was the one who took care of you.
That she was the one who raised her and took care of her. Ms. Curtis interjected that she didn't have a father growing up. Ms. Hall told her that it wasn't important. Ms. Curtis started crying that she missed out on a lot of things because of the lack of a father figure in her life.
Childhood life through me. She wanted me to do the things that she wasn't able to do. I didn't even go to the prom because I don't know how to dance. I don't know how to do anything.
Ms. Curtis, with tears in eyes, said her mother was trying to live her childhood through her. She wanted her to do what she couldn't. She never had a life of her own. She never went to the prom. Her mother interrupted her that she had no clue what she wanted. She was too young to know.
My heart dropped to my feet because I've been to the father-daughter dance. I could only imagine everybody getting ready at school and chattering, talking about the father-daughter dance, and you saying to yourself, well, I guess that's somewhere I can't go.
Well, actually, Your Honor, she
Ms.
did
Curtis
have a
said her
father
mother told
to
her
go with
never
at
to
the
ask her
time
alleged
because I
father
was
for any
married at
stuff,
the time
only
with a
her. So
father
she never had any
figure that
bond
was
with the
in
man.
the
She was
home.
trying to
That's
isolate
why I
her because
say
she didn't
don't
want her to
ask your
discover
daddy
that
for
he wasn't her
nothing.
father at the time.
This is the first time she'll ever see the letter.
He does state he's willing to be the father she needs and deserves, and it's signed Kirk.
And Your Honor, I know you may not understand how I feel
Ms.
about
Curtis
this
submitted
right
a letter
here,
to the
but
court from
that's where
Kirk
I
when he was
feel
in
like
prison.
I
The letter
was
was written to her
deceived
mother.
because
She found the letter at
because
home. Her mom had hidden it. In the letter, which was
I had my
displayed for
son
all to see,
that I
Kirk
had
said
set
he was
aside
willing to be
do
the father
right
she
thing.
deserved.
Mr. Whitaker, you are
Mr. Kirk was summoned to take the stand. He said he was doubtful about being the father of Ms. Curtis because Ms. Hall was also with another man when she said she was pregnant. Ms. Curtis, still teary-eyed, said, how can she believe any of them when they're not even sure themselves? That both of them are compulsive liars. There's too much doubt. Only the DNA result can solve this mystery.
Ms. Autry, you say the defendant is taking advantage of your son by pinning a baby on him, and you have physical
A mother,
proof
Ms.
that her
Autry, drags her
2-year-old daughter,
daughter-in-law,
Skyla,
Ms.
is
Martin,
not
to
your
court after
grandchild.
failing
Is
to
that
stop her
correct?
from getting married
Ms.
to her
Martin,
son.
you
She's now trying to
claim
prove that her son is not the father
that the
of her
plaintiff
2 years
is a
old daughter. Ms. Martin claims Ms. Autry is a monster-in-law, and she's trying to sabotage her marriage with her son.
And hope to get some once the results are revealed. Ms. Martin is taking advantage of your son.
Well, she entrapped my son by marrying him, by giving him things like money, clothes, cars.
Ms. Autry said Ms. Martin entrapped her son by giving him stuff like money and clothes while being a tramp. The judge had to refrain her from using derogatory words in the courtroom. Ms. Autry said she was doing all this because she wanted a man of her own, which was her son.
She's giving him money. Miss Autry, come on, let's be respectful.
I don't like her.
Why you want to look? You don't have to like her, but you can use respectful language.
Ms. Martin said she never entrapped her son, that her son was also buying stuff for her in return. Ms. Autry abruptly interjected and said that it was impossible for his son to be doing all that because he didn't have a job. He was at home all the time, that her son had no money.
Explain to me what's going
I
on.
got a phone call that she was getting married down the street from my house. So I got out of my bed and I started walking down the street to where she was getting married at.
Ms. Autry said her son didn't tell her he was getting married to Ms. Martin, but instead he decided to have a shotgun wedding without her knowledge. She heard the news from somebody else because her son knew she would have stopped it. She wanted to grace the wedding ceremony unannounced with the intention of crashing it, but the location was changed.
Friend sent me walking and she said, "Where are you going?" And I said, "To stop this wedding." So she gave me a ride and she dropped me out. So I'm up there trying to stop the wedding.
Ms. Martin said they had to move the location of the wedding because of her mother-in-law that she's crazy. The whole guest had to move because they were avoiding Ms. Autry. She is a renowned troublemaker, and they didn't want her to create a scene. She repeated again that she's crazy.
So you've never cared for Miss Martin?
It ain't so much as I never cared for Miss Martin. It's just that she has been very disrespectful from day one.
Ms. Autry said she never liked Ms. Martin and that she disrespected her when she came to her house. Ms. Martin said she disrespected her first, that she can only respect those that also respected her. Even at the hospital during the childbirth, Ms. Autry caused a scene saying that's not her son's baby.
To have,
she's
so
cool.
I know
They
that's
haven't
not
grew
my son's
yet.
baby.
I mean, they grew.
All right, let me see this evidence.
Like the baby's supposed to come out with full-blown eyebrows. You act like she's supposed to come out with full-blown eyebrows.
She do.
No, she does.
He did.
Ms. Autry said they called her Queen DNA because she always performs a DNA test on all her son's children, and that this was not her first rodeo with women claiming that her son is the father of their kids.
Look at the right foot.
State your name for the court.
Rebecca Cooper, Your Honor.
Miss Cooper, you are Miss Autry's daughter.
Yes, ma'am.
Look at her eyebrows.
Ms. Cooper was called as a witness. She's Ms. Autry's daughter. She said she believed the child belongs to her brother. She has a very good bond with the child because she spends a lot of time with her sister-in-law, and there's no bad blood between them. Ms. Martin said if the son and the sister is okay with the child, why is Ms. Autry not okay with it?
Every week.
The biological father is Mr. Martin.
I'll take that for 200, Your Honor.
Mr. Gout was called to the stand. He was the ex-boyfriend to Ms. Autry's daughter. He claimed he had an affair with Ms. Martin, that he believed he was the father of the 2-year-old child. She said Ms. Martin told her once that there's a possibility he could be that father. Only the DNA results can stop this from turning into a fist fight.